well they did this assignment. And
Before ChatGPT.
yeah, this is the 7th grader, and this is the assignment. And we may find this especially strange, but it's called A Day in Thailand. And do you want to? I thought maybe you could tell the story about what happened. And the strange thing, we finally read this little story, and I made 4 more of them. But I thought that the strange thing about the story is that it doesn't actually have an end. And so I thought that we could take a little moment and sort of compose a handful of endings for this story, or continuations or something. But Gene, could you tell what happened and then read the story?
Sure. First of all, Edith, whose paintings you see on the wall.
These are Edith's paintings, and Kale's are in the next room.
Kale's in the next room. When I was in 7th grade, Edith actually would let me stay home from school if I'd write. So I could, as long as I'd write, I could stay home. So about a third of the year, I'd just stay home and write stories and poetry, which was fine. So I have sheafs and sheafs of poetry and stories. So in 7th grade, I was in my first class at Bellevue Junior High School. And the assignment was to do a social studies report. Each kid was picking a country and doing a report about that country. And we were all using, I think the point was to be able to use National Geographics as our source material. Well, I found a National Geographic article about Thailand, and I decided that it would be I bored the daylights out of me. So I thought what would be fun would be to tell this country story through the eyes of a Thai kid who was my age. So I wrote this story, and the teacher sent it back with a solid red D-. And he didn't accuse me of plagiarizing. He just said, "You did not write this." Hilariously, my mother had never seen it because I had one. Edith had nothing to do with what I was working on. No writing, no. So I turned it in and said, "What do you think of this?" And she said, "Okay, it's time for what Edith always called the riot act." She grabbed this little bound story, and she marched into this guy's office and said, "Before my son showed me this, I had never seen it. So why are you giving him a D- for something that he didn't believe her?" But because she was a complaining parent, he raised my grade to, I think, B-. So that was his capitulation to an unhappy parent. After that, and this was the most popular teacher in the school. I mean, he was beloved. After that, Edith said, I think that there's a little bit of a problem here if we can't have kids who do something that's inventive and interesting without being punished for it. And that was the point at which she said, I'm going to start my own school. And there were a couple other incidents that fed into that. But that's basically the story that our family tale. So the story that I wrote, and just for those of you who don't know, my middle name is Randall, and so for years I was called Randy in the States. And it's all illustrated with snippets from National Geographic. So this is, I think I was bigger, but a year younger than anybody else. I think I was 11 in 7th grade. The boy walked along the dusty road to the train station, thinking, "My elephant is the smartest in the whole logging camp. She mustn't get the plague. Why, she's learned more than half of the 30 voice commands in only 1 month." See, I worked that in. I discovered they He typically learned 30 voice commands. So. The boy never used the barbed stick on his elephant for punishment. He awoke from his dreams and saw the train station in front of him. An old locomotive rumbled up and screeched to a halt. He handed the conductor his ticket and climbed aboard. The coach was packed with sweaty people. Arms and legs dangled out the small windows. The long journey began. When the train finally reached the huge city, the people began to stretch their bodies, causing much confusion. Then, in a great mass, they piled out of the car. The boy was tossed out into the morning light. The sun had not risen yet. Its red rays glistened on the river, touching it with beauty. It was very early, but people were rushing out of their homes and jumping into their sampans so as to avoid the glaring sun as much as they could. The boy watched all of this in delight. He saw sampans full of bananas, vegetables, pineapples, and even snack bars. Another little bit of information that came from the National Geographic. Beautiful orange robes of the Buddhist monks out begging for their breakfasts caught his eye. As he looked up to the high towers around the city, he thought of the towering trees where he worked. Ah, yes, I must get the medicine for the plague among the elephants. As he walked along, he saw the huge giants that guarded the gates of Wat Phra Kio on the grounds of the royal palace. And there's the giants guarding the grounds of the royal palace. He came to the large brown building to get the medicine. Strange ones handed a dark bottle to him. He walked away slowly, and when the door was shut, he ran until he was out of breath. Now he could go home again to the cool forest. And that's where it ends, and a bunch of pictures. A tropical rainstorm, Siamese cats, fishing in the river, and it goes on. So Kalin suggests that I left everyone hanging with that ending. I think it suggests that maybe he got the medication, and then you can infer that he went back home and gave it to the elephants. But, Kalin?
Well, I have 4 of these copies floating around, and I thought that if y'all want to, I thought it would be really nice to I mean, this is weirdly enough, it's this little story that started this school, and 55 years later, the school, tragedy of tragedies, has closed. But I thought we could finish this little story. So I mean, feel free to write in it or whatever, or maybe if people want to get into little groups and do that, that's fine. No obligation. But yeah, I thought that could be. We could have 4 little different endings to this weird little story written 60 years ago or something. I don't know how old you are. But yeah, I thought that could be cool. And well, I guess I have something else to say too. Well, this isn't at all definitive, but I have this feeling that this place can be still something very, very special. And I sort of came home and stopped touring to support my family, and also see if first try to stop to make sure that this place doesn't become more condos, like sort of the sea of condos around this place. But I have this feeling that the place can become some kind of actually really important cultural hub in the Northwest. And maybe it can't, maybe that's not possible or can't happen, but my imagination screams like some kind of eco art institute or something like that. And maybe folks, we have art residents and all kinds of projects with community and do things with children and have connections around the world with an archipelago of weird radical spaces. I think that would be fantastic, and I would love all of y'all's help with that. I think that would be an amazing thing to do, and I have been hoping over the next 40 days over the next month to run a sort of pilot program for that. And if I guess the smallest thing I've been thinking we could do sort of art on Wednesdays. If people want to come do art on Wednesdays, maybe we can screen a film in the evening and stay up all night or not stay up all night or whatever. But if folks have ideas of projects that they would like to do here in the next month and maybe all summer long, maybe in the fall, please talk to me and let me know. I'm gonna, I'm interested in doing this thing on Wednesdays. If no one comes, maybe I'll only do it for a couple Wednesdays. But I guess if folks want to do some workshops or want to build an installation in the forest, I've been asking art residents to do something with the forest and to develop and share a workshop on whatever. It's been a struggle, but I'm hoping that we'll have some kind of sort of eco art, maybe dance sort of performance development, and also I can